Hey guys, I'm doing my first Vigor video today, which is really exciting because I like Vigor a lot. I do, however, have one major problem with him, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, this isn't a full-on proper Vigor guide. I mainly just wanted to cover this dungeon specifically because I'm pretty certain that every healer who makes it here is struggling a lot, especially Vigor players. Sylvie, on the other hand, actually does fine in this dungeon. As long as you time your ramps properly, you'll do fine as Sylvie. But for Vigor, you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper. So that is the purpose of this video. And I do believe that a lot of what I'm going to say is pretty kinky, actually. I think this video will really help people. And you might even look at Vigor a little bit differently once you kind of take it all in. So let's get started. Now, if you watched my Sylvie guide, I mentioned that there are 3 important things to have in dungeons in the contender to Paragon range. Not Eternal, though. Eternal is an entirely different can of worms, so don't even worry about that right now. For contender to Paragon, you need 3 things to be able to heal really well, and those are mana sustain, emergency spot healing, and at least 2 ramps to deal with the high damage events. Now, Sylvie struggles with the non-ramp portions of her gameplay, so she kind of has to finesse her way through the mana sustain and the emergency spot healing parts of the gameplay by taking the Bloomshroom's talent, Nettle to the Petal, and using the Twilight Skybolt weapon, which is what I recommended to all of you previously. Vigor, on the other hand, doesn't struggle with mana sustain because of this talent here, Expansive Mind. Also, you can pick up the mana relic if you want, but if you play good, you won't ever need to use it unless you're under-geared. Also, in terms of emergency spot healing, Vigor has loads of that because of Rune of Renewal and Luminous Barrier. Also, Greater Heal has a pretty fast cast time if you take the talent, so Vigor has no problems in this area. But then we get to the ramping part, and holy mother of God, is this a problem for Vigor. So the next 5 minutes of this video, I'm going to be explaining to you what your options are to ramp and which option you should choose. So, the first thing you need to know about Vigor's ramp is that it's not entirely cooldown based like Sylvie's ramp is. Vigor's ramp is primarily resource based. Most of your big and efficient healing is tied to your runes, which means whenever you're going into a high damage event on a boss, you must make sure you have full runes. It is required. Unless you take this talent, Ascending Avatar. And this is my big problem with Vigor. I fucking hate this talent. It literally dilutes Vigor's gameplay so goddamn hard. And the reason is because for any high damage event that happens, you can literally turn your brain off and utilize this talent to spam Circle of Light the entire time, or most of the time. And I absolutely hate that because not only is it brain dead as hell, but it requires everyone to be stacked up, which isn't realistic in solo queue unless you literally want to babysit everyone on every single boss in every single dungeon and tell them to just stack up on you whenever any high damage event happens. Now that's bullshit. I don't want to do that. When I heal in MMOs, I prefer to do it in a way where I don't have to tell anybody what they need to be doing in order to cater to my way of healing. I would prefer it for everyone to just kind of do as they do and I can heal through whatever happens. So you can take this talent if you really want to, but I'm going to suggest another way. Honestly, I kind of wish they'd just remove this talent or change the way it works because it's literally retarded. Whoever came up with this talent should be arrested. It's such an insane blunder on their developer's part, especially since it's tied to your movement speed, which makes it even more stupid. Anyways, Vigor has many different ways that he can ramp. You can take Ascending Avatar, like I said before, and spam Circle of Light. You can spam hold down Luminous Barrier. You can spam single target Luminous Barrier. You can spam hold down Rune of Renewal. You can spam single target Rune of Renewal. Or you can do a mix of Circle of Light and Luminous Barrier. There's lots of options, so which one is the best? Well, in terms of raw healing potential, spamming Rune of Renewal is completely out of the question because Luminous Barrier is stronger. So right off the bat, we're crossing those out. Spamming individual Luminous Barriers is out of the question too, because holding down Luminous Barrier is more efficient, so that one's crossed out too. Doing a mix of Circle of Light, individual Luminous Barrier, and holding down Luminous Barrier has a lot of healing potential, technically, but it's really difficult to execute and requires a great deal of awareness, especially on the second boss of this dungeon in order to execute this strategy properly. And you're also kind of wasting the healing potential of Ascending Avatar by doing that because you're weaving in luminous barriers every so often rather than just straight spamming Circle of Light. So, in my opinion, this strategy is out too. But you can mess around with it if you really want to. That leaves us with spam holding down Luminous Barrier, which is the strategy I used to use when healing this dungeon. Except I ran into a problem. The problem was Vigor is a turret with this strategy. If you ever have to move while you're doing your ramp, you're basically screwed. And I bricked a whole bunch of keys by doing my ramp this way because I would end up having to move at the wrong time and people would die. Admittedly, I wasn't playing that well, but regardless, I abandoned this strategy. Now, we're in a dilemma. It seems like the only viable healing strategy that is both easy to execute and effective is to take Ascending Avatar and tell everyone to stack up so you can spam Circle of Light. And if that was truly the case, then I would have abandoned Vigor immediately, because that is not how I want to play the game. But then I thought of something. I was like, wait a second. During these ramp phases, it's rare that the tank ever needs to be healed. Tanks can typically keep themselves alive during the high AoE damage events, especially on a boss like this, where there's no tank damage. So, I don't actually need to be healing the tank during my ramp, which means spamming individual Luminous Barrier is back on the table, because spamming individual Luminous Barrier is actually more efficient than spamming AoE Luminous Barrier, if you're only healing 3 players. And another benefit to spamming individual Luminous Barrier is mobility. It's an instant cast, so you're not going to get wrecked every single time you have to move. Now, I do believe that there are some bosses where the tank could potentially die during the high damage events. The ones that come to mind are the last boss in this instance, the last boss in Imperium Sands comes to mind, and the last boss in Uruk Markets. So, for those bosses, you would want to spam hold down Luminous Barrier, or do a mix of hold down and instant cast Luminous Barrier. Anyways, let me show you my talents real quick, and then I'll walk you through the bosses, starting with the water boss. The talents that I use are basically what you'd expect they would be, but without Ascending Avatar, because obviously I don't want to rely on Circle of Light. Also, I'm at 195 item level in the footage you've been watching. I've healed it with less. You can heal it with less, but you'll have to play pretty well in order to pull that off. Alright, here we go. Just finishing up some trash here. Nothing too crazy. We got a bunch of stupid ass Terriks just walking around with their dumbass pink hammer. Reminds me of World of Warcraft, where you have like, sometimes you have a bunch of fucking dumbass rep pallies just walking around, whatever. Anyways, usually at the start of the boss fight, you'll be healing through a shit ton of tank damage with greater heal. But this tank is pretty geared, so I don't have to do that. And for this part, you can use the Mass Dispel Relic if you want. I'm not using it. So what I like to do is pre-shield myself and immediately dispel the other guy. And then I put another shield on myself just to kind of deal with the damage while I heal the tank, because the tank is going to be consistently getting fucked up throughout this entire phase. So I just put a shield on myself, and then when the dispel comes off cooldown, I press dispel. And the main important thing is just to make sure you end this phase with full runes. If you don't have full runes, you're completely screwed. So make sure you have full runes. And here I go, I just pre-shield everybody here, not the tank, right? We're not healing the tank. Just pre-shield everybody, and then as soon as the damage starts happening, I press Runic Proliferation and start spamming shields again on these 3 people. Don't worry too much about kind of overlapping your shield with the previous one. That doesn't matter too much. So anyways, I do that, and then I wait for the shields to pop, and then I press Circle of Light. I could have waited a little bit longer. And then I go into Nature's Fury after that. Make sure you have the Nature's Fury weapon. It's really good for Vigor. And that's it. It's really easy. I could have used my ultimate right at the end of the phase and just spammed Radiant Blast to get my runes back really quick and kind of slowly heal everyone up. But I didn't do that. I kind of forgot. Anyways, this thing again. So same thing. Pre-shield myself. The tank's going to soak it. The tank is the worst person in the group to have the dot, okay? Because the tank is already constantly getting fucked up. So make sure to dispel the tank immediately. The instant that they get it, or the tank is just instantly going to die. So anyways, same thing. I need to get my runes back really quickly here because the phase is about to start, so I'm desperately trying to get my runes while also healing the tank. Here we go. I got my runes. Same thing. Click the anchor, shield, shield, shield. As soon as the damage starts happening, I'm going to press this thing. Gonna press it. There it is. Shield, shield, shield. I have lots of mobility, so I can dodge the sharks while doing this. Shield, shield, shield again. Radiant Blast, Circle of Light. Probably I'm gonna wait. I could have waited even a little bit longer. Nature's Fury again. And I could have used my ultimate right here again. This is where I should use it. So I can just kind of spam Radiant Blast all this bullshit. But I didn't use it. Don't go all the way out here with the shark. Try to like get yourself behind the boss. I'm constantly paranoid about the boss just kind of smacking me, right? So I run away. But ideally you want to be behind the boss. And usually we get 3 of those underwater phases, or 4. I've gotten 4 a bunch of times, but this group seems to have good DPS, so dispel the tank, please, God. Okay, there we go. And I use my ultimate here. I mean, kind of a stupid place to use it. I forgot that I had it, but you know, it kind of works out. And yep, that's the boss. Not too difficult. Pretty easy to execute once you know what to do. All right, next up, this boss. This is the boss that every healer struggles with, including myself. I had to work a bunch of keys before I figured out how to do it. So it's really tough. It's honestly overtuned as fuck. The developers are crazy for adding this boss. But anyways, you can kind of tell, you know, in this dungeon that a lot of people are hard stuck because of this boss. Like I've queued up for this dungeon and immediately the tank will say, "So, Mr. Healer, do you know how to do this?" Like I've had that happen. And you know, you can also kind of tell that DPSers have been through a lot with this boss because I've had a bunch of groups where the DPSers kind of just know to stack up on me, right? Because a lot of Vigors, or pretty much every Vigor who does this, is going to be trying to spam Circle of Light, right? With that middle 3-point talent. But obviously I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to show you, that's the point of this video, I'm trying to show you that there is another way to do it. You don't have to rely on people to stack up. So, let's take a look. Oh, one more thing. You need to memorize the timings of the Shadow Greed eclipses on this boss because it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier, especially if you play Sylvie. So these are the timings. The first eclipse has a slight delay, which means when the timer hits 0, the boss will be halfway through a temptation cast, but then after that cast is when the eclipse will happen. So that one is a slight delay. The second eclipse is the hard one. That one happens immediately upon the timer reaching 0. It's scary because your cooldowns won't actually be up in time for this eclipse. I had to learn that the hard way by bricking a key. So what you want to do is use Runic Proliferation for the first AoE, and then use Lightshipper's Ward and Nature's Fury for the second one. I do believe that all of your CDs will be back up for the third and fourth AoEs since there's a huge delay, but I don't know for sure. So just keep that in mind. Alright, here we go. We're just kind of running in. Pull the boss. Come on. Pull him. Now. Get off your fucking rat mount. Alright, all you're doing in this phase is you're going to be spamming Greater Heal a lot. You can spend a couple runes just putting Rune of Renewal up on everybody. But other than that, you don't want to spend any runes. You have to make sure that you go into the Shadow Greed Eclipse with full runes. If you don't, it's like a guaranteed wipe. So just make sure that you do that. And this is all I'm doing. I'm just doing damage and greater healing. Doing damage, greater heal. Until the Shadow Greed Eclipse happens. Here it comes. 7 seconds. It's going to be a slight delay, remember. Greater heal. Timer reaches 0. Boss is casting Temptation. Here's the Shadow Greed Eclipse right now. So I shield, shield, shield. And then as soon as the damage starts, I Runic Proliferation. Shield, shield, shield again. I should be using my feather thing, but I can never remember because I'm old and washed. But still, shield, shield, shield. There we go. That was the first ramp. And you're saving Nature's Fury and Lightbringer's Ward for the next ramp, right? Because if you used it there, if you use your Nature's Fury and Lightbringer's Ward on that first one, it won't be up for the second one, and then you'll be completely screwed. So again, doing the same thing. I'm trying desperately to get my runes back. I could have probably just popped my ultimate, fuck it, YOLO swag 420, and just kind of got my runes all back really quickly, spamming Radiant Blast. But I didn't. So it is what it is. Here comes the second, when is the second one? 10 seconds, okay. So here's the hard one. This one happens immediately upon the timer reaching 0, so get ready. Here we go. We're all kind of low health. I got to top this guy. Here comes Shadow Greed Eclipse right off the bat. So 3 shields, not 3 shields. Sorry, I used Lightbringer's Will there. Shield, I panic. Shield again. Shield, shield. I panic again. Shield, shield. One more shield into Nature's Fury. So I missed 1 shield there. because I panicked, and I used Nature's Fury at global too late again because I panicked. But if you don't panic, you can kind of like squeeze in a whole bunch of healing there with the runes that you would only have 6 runes for that high damage event, but you'll have plenty of healing as long as you do it right. And yeah, that's about it. Just try not to panic. I would recommend practicing on a dummy, like kind of getting your routine down before you do it. And then anyways, for the third high damage event, I'm not going to get it, but if you do get a third one, I believe all of your cooldowns will back up for that because there's a huge delay. But if you don't want to rely on that, you can just do your first ramp over again, your runic proliferation ramp, and you'll be just fine. Alright, here we go, last boss. Grand design is actually really good on this last boss. Usually it's not really good on bosses. It's usually mainly for trash, right? Because you see you can put like soul brand up on everybody and get a whole bunch of runes back, do a whole bunch of damage. Feels really good. You can get Rune of Renewal up on everybody really quick. It's really nice. But usually not really good for bosses. But for this boss, it's really good. So anyways, we're just clearing all this trash. Avoiding all this bullshit. And yeah, going in with full runes, that's ideally what you want to do. If you don't do it, it's fine. But try to go into bosses with full runes if you can. And usually the tank gets his ass eaten right off the bat because the ads hurt really bad. So I always just pop my Lightbringer's Will or whatever the fuck this is called. I just pop that right off the bat and just do a bunch of healing. And I'm preparing for this quick draw. So I put a Luminous Barrier on everybody. That's what I'm going to do right here. Luminous Barrier on everyone. That's why Grand Design is good for this boss, and then it absorbs all this bullshit, and then you can follow up with a Circle of Light, which I always do, and then I do another Luminous Barrier, because usually the melee take a tick of this bullshit, which he did. This guy took 2 ticks, so I technically saved his life by doing that. And usually if the ads are still alive at this point, everybody's just going to get fucked up, so I just go right into a Nature's Fury, heal through all that bullshit. You can also try and stun one of the ads if you're cognizant enough, but I'm old and washed, so I'm never going to be able to do that. I AoE Power Shield again for the quick draw. Again, follow up with the Circle of Light. Follow up. Good boy. Oh, you're a good boy. Alright, I'm rune starved a little bit, but I put Rune of Renewal on the tank just so he has the buff. And I kind of rely on my mana here at Greater Heal. I have a lot of mana. Don't have to use my mana trinket. Even if I did have to use my mana trinket, I probably wouldn't notice. Again, because I'm old and washed. I'm really old. I'm not cognizant of these things anymore like I used to be, but it's fine. And this is kind of rinse and repeat, you know. The quick draw. Eventually, okay, these guys are getting fucked up because they're awful. So I just shield that guy in a panic and then kind of heal him up slowly. There's a quick draw going to happen right after this. So I AoE Powered Shield again, or Luminous Barrier, whatever you want to call it. Circle of Light after. Did I AoE shield there? I don't know. I didn't notice. I should have. Anyways, here we go. Just doing this. Going into the next phase with full runes. Not that it really matters too much. Just heal through all this. Okay. And then usually what I do here is I'll do an AoE Luminous Barrier into a Runic Proliferation just so that the CD is rolling while I'm walking through this shit. And you'll see this AoE shield actually saved this guy. Watch what happens to this guy. So you see he took damage there. He took another hit of damage. So that AoE shield actually saved his life by doing that. So make sure you do that. And then as soon as you get into this phase, you gotta pop off literally like AoE shield for the puddles, and then I just go right into my ultimate and spam Radiant Blast to get my runes up really quickly and just kind of tickle everyone's wieners a little bit. And then I go into an AoE shield, I think. Yep, because there's a quick draw happening right now. AoE shield all that bullshit into a Circle of Light. Never mind, I don't do Circle of Light. I waste Circle of Light. I did Nature's Fury instead, which is fine. Alright, another AoE shield because, you know, the puddles, they hurt pretty bad. I get sent because this boss is terrible. Man, there have been so many groups where I get sent and then the group just instantly dies. It's so stupid. I should never be able to send the healer. But it's fine. I get back, they survive. And then the same kind of a thing, there's a quick draw about to happen, so I AoE barrier everyone. Circle of Light that shit. The quick draw is happening. I should do another AoE barrier, but I don't because I'm like kind of far away from everybody, so I just individually shield this guy instead, save his life. That's good. And then I kind of put Rune of Renewal up on everybody just in case, and the boss is dead. Well, usually the boss lives longer than that, but, you know, that's like basically what you do. So good luck, y'all. You're going to need it.